Welcome to the Payment Shed podcast, the weekly podcast that dives into the big topics, trends, and people shaping the worlds of payments, fintech, and business leadership, with your two co-hosts, myself, Grant Evans, and Justin Hanna. Welcome to another episode of the Payment Shed podcast. Today we are joined by Warren Whitfield, founder and CEO of Modern World Business Solutions. Warren, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm Warren Whitfield, founder and CEO of Modern World Business Solutions. So yeah, thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about sort of your journey in payments today and the business, obviously?
Yeah, it's evolved quite a bit, as you might have seen over the last sort of 7 years. Originally, we founded Modern World back in 2017, I want to say, as just a sub-ISO of a then more senior ISO called First Payments. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys. And we became a reseller of their product. And I soon realised that we weren't ever going to get to a point where I was going to be satisfied with what we were doing. So we started to evolve really quickly from then, really, and to the business we are today, where it's more fintech and almost a business that develops continuously enablement software for anyone in the merchant services chain, really.
And we've spoken previously, and something that you said that stood out was that kind of 6 months in, you realised the market was a little bit broken and the one supplier model just wasn't going to be the right fit. What was kind of that light bulb moment that made you think that?
If I'm honest with you, the light bulb moment came from a chargeback risk. Like we at that time back in 2017, it was a standard model that you'd expect to see self-employed resellers running around selling the one product that we had at the time, which was obviously fitting a square peg and sometimes fitting a square peg in a round hole. And after that 6 months, we realised that there was a chargeback risk from the leases that we would give out, and those leases, when we'd call up the merchant and be like, "What's going on? Why are you not paying your bill?" It would always be the same thing. Either the salesman signed me up incorrectly, or it wasn't the correct fit. It's not what the salesman sold for me. So when you hear that for like a couple of months, and all of a sudden at that time there's no money. I didn't have any money. So at that time it was like, this is going to become a real big problem real quick if we continue down this path. And that was the moment really when I was like, right, we've got to do something different here. We've got to start being more consultative around selling payments, and how can we do that? And then that's when I started looking at the multi-acquirer model and how we could get into that sort of. I found it astonishing that there wasn't a comparison type of website available for resellers of payments in a unregulated world. And I was like, that really interested me back then. It's like, why doesn't it? And obviously the more you dig into it, it's through acquirers wanting that market share all for themselves. And I wanted to try and bust that.
And kind of pre-launch, what did you see as the gap in the market when you were just that ISO, as you mentioned?
Exactly what I've just said there. The fact that it was often filled with resellers that were selling one particular product because of market. They demanded market share, these acquirers. So the USP of a consultative seller sitting in front of someone and fitting the narrative of their business didn't exist. Or if it did exist, it would still only be one or two acquirers, not necessarily like the whole of market. And I found that really interesting that didn't exist in such a critical world. It's a commodity, really, payments nowadays, and not as much as we don't want it to be. It is. It's a business that it's a service that everybody needs, and to not have a selection process which is fit for your business really struck hard with me. And that's where it really come from. Really, it's the fact that we wanted to try and put that into place.
Why do you think so many merchant services providers are still fishing in the same sea? Is it kind of lack of diversification? What have you seen? Again, a question beyond that, you've obviously got a pool of resellers that sit below your platform. How have you seen them sort of diversify out of that same sort of pool?
If you want the real honest answer, I don't think it is diversified anymore. I think it's driven by the acquirers again. They've almost taken market share back by paying ridiculous upfront sort of bounties to try and win business. So our model is very different, where it's like, look, we're not going to compete with the likes of, I don't know if I'm allowed to say names on here or not. No, I'm not allowed. You're not going to compete with the companies that are paying large upfront bounties. So we've got to offer something different. So what we're offering is a platform which is agnostic, so that a real, genuine salesperson that is, really wants to put their merchant first and match the narrative of an acquirer to a customer, like they can use our platform. That's what we try to do.
What does merchant first kind of actually mean to you in practice? Like, we can use it as a slogan, and a lot of businesses do, but what does it mean to you?
Understanding them a little bit more, I think, and then obviously matching their exact profile to an acquirer that's on our platform, or not necessarily just that one business to one acquirer. I don't particularly, in a world where there's so many different variations now, it's of acquiring, like next day settlement, 7-day settlement, like net settlement, gross settlement, the different hardware certifications, the different apps that sit on the hardware. There's so many variables that you can, if you was a true consultant, you would understand the needs of a business and match it backwards. I don't think that exists really with a lot of the market at the moment. And what we're trying to do is create that sort of one sort of centralized platform where any reseller of a merchant service can look on there and find the correct solution for a merchant they sit in front of.
A frustration for me is if you go online now, you see everybody seems to be a payment consultant.
Yeah.
I'm like, what really is that payment consultant, right? And you mentioned there what I see as consultants go and understand their challenges and their needs, as opposed to I have lots of solutions.
The thing is with these payment consultants is that often they only have one tool in their toolbox, right? So how can you be a consultant if you've only got one? This is it. So I'd be. It's always my question back is like, look, if you want to be a real consultant, then we're definitely the right choice for you. If you just want to sell payments, then there's other companies out there that definitely will be better. Especially if you're driven by the revenue that you get off placing a mid or a TID or whatever it is that you're doing. So there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. But from the way I want to do business, it's a little bit different.
When you look back at kind of the first sort of 12, 18 months of Modern World, when you were on that sort of early growth stage, is there one sort of particular decision maybe outside of going multi-acquirer that kind of sticks with you as to that's kind of shaped the direction the business is headed in?
Other than the obvious, like in terms of like the people that we brought in, the decision to the guy that built our platform, Chris, our CTO, like there was a pivotal moment where we made him a shareholder, which obviously we needed to lock him into for longevity. He's a genius of a developer, so that was obviously critical for us. But in terms of direction, we just wanted to, I suppose, the idea of this platform was the pivotal moment, really. And we knew that the way I think is we knew that off the back of that there would be many more areas we could innovate into. Like the idea of the platform really was a starting block for us to innovate into other enablement software, such as obviously you might have seen the Genie now, which obviously is the next step, and you've seen the payments market, which is a comparison site for merchants, which is again the next step, and that all sort of creates a big ecosystem of technology that all in the grand scheme of things is enablement software for everyone involved.
We talk about the reseller and the channel side of merchant services, and sometimes it is a little bit misunderstood and maybe overlooked. How do you think your model works, and kind of why does it matter to businesses that want to work with you?
It works because of that. What we just explained before, like it won't work for some people. We get that, but those, with respect, are not the type of people that we want to work with, which is fine. It works to give a real solution to a real need. Like there are lots of different acquirers. The market is very, very crowded, and they all claim to be the best and the best service and the best products and the best. And what our platform does is allows any reseller of payments to be educated in those products and to also then put them forward in a proper manner rather than just going around selling that one product. We think that really matters. We think that everybody should.
What about when you've got a merchant that's with an acquirer, the product's fine, but it's just expensive? Do you think from a reseller perspective there's a need to go in there just to drive down price, or do you think that should be something that a merchant's doing themselves?
I think sometimes it depends, I think, is the answer. I don't want to be a politician here, but it depends, doesn't it? Like if you've got for an example, if you're going into a merchant where their price has just crept over a period of time, so which we all know that happens, and they don't know because they haven't been looking at their bills or what have you, and a consultant can come in and say, I can keep you with the same provider, I can keep you with the same hardware and the software, but I can have a look and see whether I can improve something for you. Then I would expect them to do that if it means that we can keep a customer happy, that the acquirer happy, the relationship's all sort of happy. I would encourage that.
And what do you think is broken about the more traditional single acquirer or white label model?
Broken's probably a strong word, but because it clearly still works in some capacity, but it's just completely the opposite of what we have built our whole business on. Like, you've obviously got this platform that's multi-acquirer, agnostic, really driven around choice, transparency, and then you've got this one other model on the other side of the scale, which is literally you've got to sell this one solution, whether it's the right fit or it's not. I don't know whether I could get behind that.
From an e-com point of view, when you want to go down that multi-acquire route, obviously your gateway choices become more limited in recent years because a lot of gateways have been acquired by acquirers. That's a sentence to say. But, you know, that has narrowed slightly the choice of independent and agnostic PSPs, and then you bring the orchestration layers that kind of push back on that a little bit. But has that been a challenge for you in terms of the e-com side of the business?
Not, if I'm honest, we don't really do a lot in e-com, and all we tend to do is partner with the gateways anyway. So, like, you know, the likes of NMI are agnostic, and, you know, the Element payment gateway and a Payo, and, you know, we will only partner with them anyway. CardStream. So you know, we don't do a lot in it, but we would only partner with these people.
A conscious choice that you've made around e-com? Is there any reason?
No, it's just the type of people that join our platform are normally pod sellers, and traditionally pod sellers don't really sell a lot of e-com because either A, they don't understand it, or they don't want to get behind it, or they're driven by the commission that they get from the pods, or whatever it might be. So historically, we've just never really jumped into that world. We've got a couple of salespeople internally that work inside e-com, but we don't sort of have a huge e-com book.
Working with
Trying to sell to me.
No,
Just thinking, I wonder if I can get well.
No, I mean, look, it's interesting on the other side. Obviously, I've sold in e-com for a long time, but in terms of, you often have an e-com business and they have one or two bricks and mortar locations, right? But there's also smaller bricks and mortar, particularly with COVID, right?
Yeah.
You know, your florists, your coffee shops, the coffee shop decides to do their own range of beans now, right? And then they launch a Shopify store and they've got an e-com. Yeah. Maybe Shopify is the answer. It's quite closed loop, that ecosystem, right? And it was the easy thing for them to take off the shelf. But it just feels like there's always an upsell opportunity for e-com, even in small SMB businesses these days.
We've obviously, it's funny you should say that, because you would have, I touched on it earlier with the Genie, which is obviously, it's a POS product primarily, but it comes with the lamp, which is the control panel effectively, which has got a virtual terminal in it and
send a link,
and a send by link, a payment link, and what have you. But the idea is there that it also comes with a payment gateway that would unify that whole journey. So the idea is that, you know, come 2026, when we have this big distribution push, that if they're starting to sell our own products, our own software, then we will be going after not just the bricks and mortar, but we'll also try and unify their gateway takings, their website takings inside the same platform. That's something that we're really hopeful for. So hopefully 2026 we'll see a lot more e-commerce business than we have done in the past.
One issue I've always had working at gateways that have acquiring relationships is that the acquirers want to fight it out to get a bigger share of wallet, right? Which is the job of any partner manager that's managing a relationship with a gateway. How do you try and act as fair as possible to keep all of your acquirers happy? I don't know if there's an exact answer for that. I'm just interested in how you guys do it.
I can tell you that it took, so when we, back in 2018, 2020, whatever it was, when I wanted to go down this route, it obviously was a very tough sell for me to try and get ISO contracts with lots of different banks as a small ISO that was doing no volume. But so I had to almost convince everybody that the idea of this agnostic platform was the way to go, because the idea is if you're placing the right business, then the attrition's lower for a start. So they all love low attrition. The contracts remain the same in the back end. So this is truly, we do it so that it truly is the merchant's choice, and the reseller's choice. Sometimes we have like deeper relationships with other acquirers, but only because of API integrations and the capabilities they give our own technology that we develop, for instance. So we try and be as fair as possible. We don't actively, for our reseller channel certainly, we don't actively push anybody independently or one more than the other. It's all driven by choice and giving that complete transparency.
Do you think those acquirers have softened their stance on that exclusivity piece as well, or they've had to?
I think, say the market's changed somewhat since we started, and there's definitely truth behind the saying that, you know, we've got acquirers on our platforms that definitely won't be happy with the volume they're getting because they're getting left behind, but we are delivering meaningful volume to 80% of the acquirers that we've got on our platform. So nice. I'd still imagine we're we're giving, the likes of the lesser acquirers or tier 2, tier 3, I'm still imagining that we're one of their top ISOs, even delivering the numbers we are delivering. So, from their perspective, they would, of course, they would like the big chunk, but something is better than nothing, I think.
I think exclusivity is this word in payments that everybody bangs on about. I've signed exclusivity contracts with merchants before, knowing full well, and we're going to have no idea in years to come whether or not it's really exclusive, because there's so many clauses in contracts that allows merchants to, well, actually, you don't have this product, so I've got to go and get it from one of your competitors.
You can sign what feels like a long contract, but generally it's 30 days notice on most merchant accounts, and it's 18 months with the PSR on most kit now as well. So it's,
none of our contracts that we have with any of our acquirers are obviously exclusive for obvious reasons. We've obviously got stronger relationships with some. I don't think it's a secret that we've got some stronger relationships with some than others. But those relationships were built on us developing technology that leveraged their existing technology. Yeah. And then because of that, things just sort of, your relationship gets stronger. You develop something that they don't have, and it just becomes a bigger thing. But we haven't got any sort of rules of thumb of how much we can push one together.
And on that topic of technology, no secret that you guys have been winning awards left, right, and centre over the last couple of years. Congratulations for that. That does very much feel to me, though, linked to the tech-first approach that you have, your dashboards, your portals, the different things that you're bringing behind the scenes from a technology point of view, rather than just, we've got some hardware, we've got this application system. There's a lot more to it. How important are those dashboards, and what are you trying to achieve with the different portals that you're offering to your end customers as well?
Good question. So there's lots of different technology that we've got now that the idea of it is to play in the white spaces, if you know what I mean. So what we want to try, and we don't want to sit in the flow of funds anywhere. We don't want to become PCI inside PCI scope or anything like that. We almost want to develop software that enables anybody in the chain, but sit inside the white spaces where we can just go unregulated, really, in terms of, we don't want any of that legislation to come down on the boring stuff. Yeah, we want to spend our time and our money developing in areas where we can, overlaying other people's software. So we wanted to try and create the whole ecosystem, which is what we've done really. It started with the platform, which opens up transparency for everybody, and then we created the compare the market, which obviously then opens up to the merchants to be able to change it. And then we wanted to get a piece of software on a device that actually bridges that communication. So we thought that there was a massive disparity between the PSP or whoever owns that merchant, really. So not the ISO, the actual bank, the acquirer, the whoever, and the actual merchant. So sometimes there's 2 or 3 places removed between that journey. And then people always swap out and go and work for other companies and retire or what have you. So that merchant actually have never actually had any communication with someone that works at the PSP or the acquirer. So we wanted to try and make a communication tool from that platform to that platform, which is what the Genie does fundamentally, is closes that gap. So that's what we've been trying to do, really, is just sort of work really closely on communication and transparency. And
is commission clarity a big part of that as well? Because I feel like a lot of ISOs have always struggled with, what does this commission actually mean? What are the breakdowns? Like, how am I earning my money? Is that part of what you guys present back?
Yeah, so that was probably what won in between the year 2020, I think it was, and 2023, we had a massive intake of resellers coming onto our platform, some that we wish we'd never had, and some that we're still with us today doing great business. Part of that, and the biggest USP, was the fact that we uploaded all of the payaways onto the platform. Chris at CTO had built a piece of middleware that basically digested it all and put it into their platform, so they could almost see exactly to the penny. Yeah, look, because people would normally, they would moan and say, "Oh, I work for this acquirer, but all I get is a spreadsheet," which could quite easily be manipulated. So what we tend to do is, of this spreadsheet or this form that we give them, a page on our platform breaks down everything, like literally to every single transaction. And then if anyone does come back and say, "Well, why are we making a loss on that card?" all we do is get them on a Teams call and actually show them the actual the form that it's been dragged from an API. So there's never any disparity around. People moan because they don't price correctly, but they're quite within their rights to. But what's important to us is that we know that we've always got the answer. Like, we can always back it up with a true piece of paperwork from the acquirer.
How has that technology then enhanced the post experience for a merchant?
So that that technology hasn't necessarily worked with the merchant. What has is the data that we're giving to a reseller should, by proxy, enhance the experience of a merchant because they've got more data at their fingertips. So, for example, if this merchant that was you referenced earlier, they're a little bit concerned around their price creeping up. If they go to their reseller and say, I'm a little bit concerned, my price keeps creeping up, then the reseller has got all of that data available to them. So they can say, let me just check your account. They can see the last 12 months acquiring. They can see what they've turned over. They can see their live transacting. They can see how much they've earned out of that customer. So they should be able to make an informed decision around, actually, Mr. Customer, I've made a couple, obviously you wouldn't say this, but I've made a couple of grand out of you over the last 12 months. I can reduce your pricing and still remain profitable.
Is that a headless system then? So there's kind of merchant access a portal that's headless, or do they take your data and pull it into their own portal to present to the merchant?
So it's all the data is digested from either the hardware software that we've implemented, so like the likes of the Genie or Box or something like that, and the merchants would always have their own portal, which is not the same portal that our partners would see, but the data would remain the same. So they'd they'd see what they'd expect to see. Today's takings, yesterday's takings, ATV, transaction count, whatever you might see.
Today's episode is sponsored by ISX Financial. Most growing businesses end up stitching together multiple providers to run their payments and banking, leaving them exposed to cash flow, reconciliation, and even security issues. ISX Financial delivers a unified ecosystem with multi-currency accounts, online payments, real-time UK and EU transfers, and global mass payouts. Within that platform, Paid By provides pay by bank with real-time settlement notifications, automated reconciliation, and integrated refund management. One partner, one integration, helping your business transact with confidence. You can learn more at isx.financial. That's isx.financial. And a big thank you to the team at ISX for supporting the show. With being a tech-first business like you guys are, what has been the hardest part about building and maintaining your own technology platforms?
I think that's a good question. I think keeping up, actually, or keeping ahead. Like I'd like to think that we're ahead of the curve on most of the things that we're creating, and bearing in mind that we've obviously got this approach where we do work in the white spaces, so we don't want to get into flow of funds or anything like that. So we're always innovating on how can we enhance and how can we sort of enable merchants or resellers to do more. And now we've obviously got the likes of AI coming along, so we've got more ideas around that. And I think so. The hardest part, which ironically is probably the one thing I would pat myself on the back for and say I'm actually quite good at, is the ideas, the thinking of that next thing, that next product that no one else is going to even think of. I'd like to think that that we're ahead on the game with that. So that's difficult though, because obviously as we're getting bigger and we're getting more exposure from obviously the awards that we keep winning, which is a great thing, but it does sort of weigh expectations on what's coming next, what's next.
Look, we're in quite a saturated market that seems to be moving fast, which sounds counterintuitive to be saying it. You've got lots of legacy providers. We've got more regulation than ever before. We've got buzzwords that are doing things, embedded payments.
Yeah.
Where do you see things heading over the next few years? You mentioned before you like to think of ideas before they're there. Where do you see the payments industry moving over the next couple of years, and kind of what trends are shaping that?
Yeah, tell us your secrets.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see a lot more unified commerce. So I think that's clear to see. I'm hoping that you'll see the demise of the. I'm hoping you'll see the demise of the large incentive for distribution grab. Like I don't like that particularly. So I think that's going to be a change, and with that will become a big change in obviously the market in general. But in terms of a tech play, I'd probably say AI is going to play a huge part, obviously, and unify commerce in terms of communications and what's available on the POS. Like the smart POS needs to become a lot smarter, doesn't it? Like it's not in a lot of the antiquated acquirers, I should say. The POS that they're putting out there is not a smart POS. They're miles and miles and miles behind. So I think the innovations that you'll start to see on the devices will really shape over the next 18
That's
months.
probably like a sign that the Android devices have been around for a long time now. We probably haven't done enough with them. Something I really love that you guys have done through the Genie product, I believe, is the merchant cash advance or embedded funding that you offer in device. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Cool.
That's actually a really good example of what I mean in terms of the smart device needs to be more than just a payments terminal. Like the smart device in an SME, in a small business, it really is more valuable than the radio or the TV screen or their phone even. They are getting information passed to their device when they pick it up. It's important that, that you're putting a piece of news in front of their eyes. And what you mentioned there about the MCA, like that embedded finance journey that we've got with Recap is an example of that. Like we deliver a pre-approved MCA directly to the terminal. So like if you're working in that florist that you mentioned, and
how do you place that from a staff point of view? So I work I'm the florist employee. Would you like £20,000? Like, yes.
Well, so that on the Genie, it's everything on the Genie is toggleable. So, like for instance, the merchant only gets the login to start with. So they would either put a PIN protection behind it, or they would toggle it off to say, I don't want my staff. And that's the beauty with the Genie, is that every terminal is configurable like individually. So you might say, the people in the office, I do want that on because I want them to understand when we've got an MCA, but I don't want the people behind the bar to know about it. So it's all that instant gratification of a platform that we think is really different with that particular product.
What do you think the latest state of play is then? Because you guys are, it's great to see a platform like you guys delivering so much innovative product. The acquirers are probably looking sometimes slightly jealous about how quickly you can bring that product to market as well. How do you feel that relationship between acquirer, ISO, and then the merchant? And then that, we talk with other guests around that merchant choice. Do they go directly to the acquirer? Do they go through the ISO ecosystem? Like, how do you feel that landscape? Is it playing well together at the moment? Well, or is there friction?
If I'm being honest, it's what we play on, isn't it? It's the whole reason we exist, is because like the acquirers that ideally, we all want to be the big boys, don't we? We all want to work with these big acquirers, and if we've got tools and platforms and software that they just love, but they can't get to anything like it quick enough, then it's a massive opportunity for the companies like us that can develop quickly. We're agile. We can, as long as we can get acquirers to believe in the product that we're developing, then it's a route to market for us, was the way we see it. So, the Genie, for instance, is a good example where the minute we show any acquirer, they all want it, but then they can't move quick enough to get through the red tape to get it. Do you know what I mean? So it's almost the only way really is to acquire us, right? And then all we get wrapped up in that red tape, which eventually I'll imagine one day, way into the future, might happen.
And hopefully maybe the new 9 million of growth fund can help with that. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How do you think that fund's going to fit into the bigger picture of modern world?
There's two objectives really that we're really trying to do. Is one, always keep ahead of that development curve. So we're always trying to we always want to be known as the ones that have got technology that is, everyone's looking at and going, that's a cool bit of kit. And obviously distribution. There's two plays really that we're really strong on, and those two metrics. So that money over a period of time will be invested heavily in distributing our own products. So rather than pushing out a standard Pax A920 with a Pax Positive app on it, it'll all be overlaid with our own technology. I think you might have seen the free bits of tech that we've got in terms of the Boxer Genie and Tappledo, which are free, really, really good bits of kit. So it'll be maintaining those, developing on top of them, and distributing in mass.
Is that the beginning then of an evolution of you guys from a solution provider to more of a payments as a service platform?
Yeah, I'd probably say that's accurate. I think that this is breaking news. So
that's what we're here for.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. Like the days where we had an aggregator platform that we were doing hundreds of applications from a multitude of resellers and sub ISOs are probably gone, because of how easy and accessible it is that the acquirers have made it for these people just to go direct. There's no due diligence anymore. If you're doing 40 or 50 applications as a reseller, you go and sign up with anyone, let's face it. And
that's still like
I think it's I honestly
I say this to my family sometimes, and they're like, "What's the regulation like then?" And I'm like,
"There is none."
Well, we've got some, but yeah,
that for me is mind-boggling that people are allowed to do that. We decline people, so we do a little bit of when the credit checking and looking behind the scenes of these people, when people come to us and we decline them based on what we deem to be very good reasons, the next thing you'll see, they're popping up direct relationships with an acquirer, running around selling acquirers direct. And if there's one thing that really gets me, it's that. But I also know that, I'm not going to sit here and moan about it. It gives me an opportunity to pivot our business again. And I think you're right. I think in terms of payments as a service, software as a service, I think what will probably happen to our platform is that we will integrate it far more into AI. We'll integrate into far more banks. And we will probably almost sort of under a subscription service, and then we'll just give all the residual away to whoever subscribes. But we will give it to people that we know actively are going to do real business, and we'll forget about the individual resellers. I think
I would defend my own partner programs where I've been, because I think we have done a lot of partner due diligence, but it always has been an odd one because we do so much merchant due diligence.
Yeah.
But then the partners that are bringing these merchants have kind of been, they have been like a bit of a black hole in payments historically. I was going to ask you, actually, I saw the news about your partnership with Peterborough United Football Club this week as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a bit of that's a bit of a eureka moment, really. That was so I'm a Peterborough United supporter.
I'm a Northampton Town fan, so I can't actually say that word, but I'm glad you asked the question because I couldn't
never told me
it.
that, otherwise I wouldn't have been here. So I've been a Peterborough fan all my life. We've got our business to a size where now we feel as though we can offer a little bit of support by sponsorship or what have you. And when I got speaking to Alex, it was like, well, there must be something. Obviously, we're not at that point where we just want to throw money away and get nothing back.
Stadium.
So we don't want to be like just put our name on a shirt and expect nothing back in the way of business. So I was like, there must be a way where we can do a sponsorship that also supports not only the club, but also we're very much aware that any professional sports club is the hub of any community, isn't it? It's a central hub. And with inside that community, you've got loads of business owners, you've got loads of sponsors. So it's like, well, why don't we create some sort of, we're a white label payments platform. Why can't we create a brand under your club so that, merchants get the trust that they're dealing with a reputable company that they want to support? Instead of us, so we've created Posh Payments, and then off the back of that, then rather than us giving them a rebate like we would do a reseller, we deliver a fund like anybody that Posh Payments would introduce us to. So any sponsorships or business owners, supporters, for instance, we would go in there, put the right solution with them, but we would then deliver a rebate back to the football club for the foundation.
Amazing.
So not only are we supporting the club with a sponsorship, we're supporting local businesses with either cheaper rates, better service, whatever it is that they want, the right service. But we're also then delivering off the back of that into the foundation to hopefully help the next Harrison Burrows come along and keep us afloat. So I thought that was a really good way of sponsoring a football club with some purpose and community focus, and it gave us everything that we wanted in terms of a bit of exposure, a bit of introduction, a bit of business back. And we've been live for a month now, and we've got some really big deals on the table that they've opened the doors for.
That's what you want from sponsorship, though, right?
Yeah,
if it pays itself back quickly, and then
the idea is that the revenue we get back off the introductions will pay for the sponsorship, and it's and that model actually now that we've seen it work so well with inside our club. I say our club, Peterborough United, is that model really is open to be replicated across the country in any sports club, from the Peterborough United all the way down to my local's bowls club. They've all got sponsors, they've all got business owners, and if we can, that would be the difference of keeping some clubs afloat. So we're really proud of that one. It's it's a nice one to have.
Fantastic. I think it's a great idea. I think of all the episodes we've done and spoken to people, I think just the way you articulated that was fantastic, and actually giving back to your community via sponsorship. We're in business, right? Everyone wants to try and make money.
Yeah.
But actually, it's not just about that 9 to 5 hustle, right? It's what you're doing to be able to give back to the future CEOs and founders of businesses.
Yeah. Well, this is it. It's we're very, Peterborough's a town that means a lot to a lot of people, including me. I've lived in Peterborough for a long time. I want to see people get value for money in Peterborough, and I also want to support the club as well. So if we can help either, then that's a win for me.
You look at Wrexham and what a football club can do for a community potentially with a bit of noise and a bit of hype and some good projects. I mean, that's transforming that town, isn't it?
And the news on Sheffield Wednesday.
Does Ryan Reynolds watch this so I can maybe he'd be
sure we can tag him. I'm sure we can
tag him. He's diehard Wrexham now.
He'd be interested
he
in
loves
sponsorship.
payments. Ask me that. He loves payments.
Well, Bristol City's been up for sale for 3 years. He can go there first. So.
He's going to nick my idea now, isn't he, Ryan? And starts, but we're pleased, and we think it will go. We think it will go further afield than Peterborough.
Fantastic. Now, Warren, we come to our favourite part of the show, the shelf of shame. If there's one thing in payments or fintech that really grinds your gears, what is it?
Oh, wow. I really should have read the brief, shouldn't I? I didn't realise. What's been said before?
Oh, we've had loads of stuff.
Lots
we've had
of things.
Physical loyalty cards.
Unregulated payment resellers been like the unregulation of resellers. There you go. Like when you said about that, and I am really passionate. I'm really passionate about that. I think that we get regulated as an ISO, and we try and do best practice by regulating the people that sell our product. In my opinion, the PSR have regulated. Have done the 18-month things irrelevant if you've got wrong people selling it, isn't it? I think the regulation needs to be on us to regulate people better. And I think whether you're an employed seller, whether you're an unemployed seller, like a self-employed seller rather, I just think that the unregulation, it definitely needs to be on the shelf.
It becomes a funnel as well, though, because you have an ISO that will go through an approval process, but then that ISO could have 50 of their own referral partners, right? And who's policing the 50 people feeding that funnel? The intention was there, though, right?
The intention was there, but it's probably going to show them not knowing enough about the market, but trying to put into regulation into
there's
the
no
industry.
policing for us. Like we're obviously when we go through and get an ISO contract, there's due diligence and it takes months and contracts but in reality, we could employ 100 people that they don't. The bank don't know who they are. The acquirer don't know who they are, and there's no regulations or there's no stipulations on who we can take and so and I just know there's people working in payments that shouldn't be working in payments, and I think that that tighter regulation around that would definitely help.
I can't disagree with that at all.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I'm more than happy to put that.
I didn't
on the
come on to
shelf
get on my high horse, but it's changed. It's just changing the landscape a little bit for us as a business.
Yeah, can I ask? You've probably worked with some people, given the ecosystem that you had on this journey. You've probably encountered some of those bad eggs that
that's
you maybe
what I'm
had to
saying
get rid of.
We must have terminated, I reckon, probably this year 50, and I know for a fact they all just run straight back into another ISO and set themselves up.
Yeah,
or even worse, they go straight to an acquirer. So we terminated one who in fact, one that's we know is fraudulent, and we won't ever go and tell everybody, but we know that they've gone and set up with another acquirer
and passed all the checks and got boarded.
And there is no checks. This is my point. Like there's no like, what's your name?
Just throw it over the fence, send an email in.
I just think that if we're really serious about tidying up the industry, which I think everyone's been trying to do for the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years since I've been involved, we can't do it without the acquirer's help. And it should all be governed by the acquirer. Like the acquirer needs to put. No, so I don't want to do myself out of a business, but I think the acquirer really does need to step up a little bit on who they allow to
mandate who the ISO's resellers are, or have some way of
I
due
think
diligence
they need
on
to
that.
mandate the ISO to mandate whoever's selling their services. So and then they need to do checks on them on regular basis. Like that's what I think should happen, and I've got no problem doing it because we do it anyway. But if you went to other ISOs, I know they might have a problem.
No, I completely agree with you.
I agree.
Yeah, and other than that, I think I'll go with that. There's other stuff, but I don't want to
just one. We've had lists.
That's probably the biggest thing for me. Well, but it probably affects me more than others because it's my bread and butter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on the show today. Where can people get in touch, find out more about Modern World and your services?
You can. I'm on LinkedIn, so most people who know me already would follow me on there, I'd imagine. Or our website is www.mwbsolutions.co.uk if you're a partner that wants to join our reseller program. And if you're a merchant looking at our independent technology products, it's mwbs.co.uk. So we've got 2 websites for different channels. But,
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it. It's been good.